Hey people. Um I wanted to I wanted to go ahead and further explain what has been going on lately. As I mentioned in a couple of my other videos that I have posted, I have been in sort of a transformative place in the last week. I had my birthday. It was on Friday, not yesterday. It was on Friday, June 14th. And I turned 40 years old, which is a huge milestone, especially for a woman. First of all, it doesn't matter what I do or say, people are uncomfortable with my age, and they are uncomfortable to the extent they think that I am lying about my age. And like I said, typically it would be a compliment, but it's starting to become a problem because I realize now that I don't receive the respect and the authority that I deserve. And people slip constantly into a pattern of treating me like I am to be submissive to them, and that they just very much underestimate me and my intelligence. And it sort of, what it does is it traumatizes me. It's sort of turns me into something that I am not. So a lot of times, like on camera, that I act kind of like, like I'm just this sort of vapid, like I joke around that I'm just this vapid narcissist. I'm this vapid, female celebrity. I'm kind of a Barbie doll. And, you should know by looking at me that I'm not a Barbie doll, that I am not this vapid powder puff. I am much more complicated than that. I am a person with a tremendous amount of experience, even for my age, in different things, and I continuously work on each of these different talents, in that I am constantly reading about the world, current events, politics, and I am constantly working, and especially now constantly working on new projects all the time. So my amount of experience is very elevated, and I am constantly in deep thought about my process and what I'm doing and who I am and my goals and things like that. And a lot of people don't understand the inner workings of my mind, because they perceive me as a submissive female, which is very bizarre, because just looking at me, you should be able to tell that I'm not this submissive powder puff female. Even though my pronouns are she, her, that's one of the reasons why I've made my appearance like this, is because you should not underestimate me. But yet people do, and they try to fit me into a category of women that are anything but like what I am. So I get pigeonholed a lot as a stereotypical female, and I'm anything but stereotypical. I'm just extremely unique, and you really have to have some depth to know that about me, I think sometimes. I mean, I would think just by looking at me, you should be able to tell that I'm not a typical female. But people still stereotype me, and it's very tragic. And it's very tragic for them too, because they really have a hard time handling the truth. And when it hits them, it hurts. And that's the thing, is it starts to worry them and scare them that I have no children, which is really none of their business. Why I'm unmarried, that I should be married, that there should be a breadwinner, that I should not need help, I should not need support and things, and all of this should come from that breadwinner, my family, my children should be giving me confidence, not the goals that I have and things like that. Okay, so I belong to a type of person, a type of person in the world who values accomplishments and achievements and making global change and being a part of progress. That's the type of person that I am. And I really, really don't fit in with typical females, typical, traditional, especially conservative females. I tend not to fit in with. And people really have to be sort of progressive to even begin to understand what I have been through and what I am doing and who I am and what I'm trying to accomplish. Okay, so with that being said, about my age and all of that, on my birthday, I woke up and I opened my Instagram and I immediately started bawling my eyes out like my two eyes were waterfalls and I could not stop crying. And if you know me, you know that I am an typically emotionally stable person who does not have strong emotions about things, that I am almost stoic. I am even tempered, and I am the type of person that is patient, that approaches things with that tries to approach things with a really clear mind, and I don't get my emotions really involved in things. Surprisingly, I started crying on my birthday because I saw a video clip that tugged tremendously on my heartstrings and made me feel extreme nostalgia having to do with my past, in more like my high school years, because it was a clip of my so-called life and the various outfits that Angela wears in my so-called life. And you would think typically this is just a silly or cute video clip, but my so-called life was something that I felt passionately about. It was one of my favorite shows in high school, and I have actually watched episodes and clips from it recently, but for some reason, when I saw this video, I was shook. And the music that they chose to theme the video, whoever edited this video and put the music was the Cranberries' Dreams, which, if you know that song, is very nostalgic of that era. And very it's very feminist and very supposed to be very empowering and whimsical, and like women were supposed to be as sort of like dreamers who could achieve things in the 90s. Well, for some reason, I just became so deeply emotional that I couldn't stop crying. And it would have been great if I had somebody around, but I live alone, and I like living alone. I don't, especially in this particular apartment, I don't want anyone else living in here with me. And it is a small apartment, and I don't know anyone well enough that I would want to move in with them. Or trust anybody to that degree. So the video clip was on. I was crying. I could not stop crying. I was having a flashback of being a teenager and the memories and joys of being sort of like a young person who had their whole life ahead of them, and the bonding that I had with other females during this time was just precious, and the memories that flooded were just intoxicating. And the thing is that I was just overwhelmed with emotion because of those memories and just feeling, because I've lost those friends. Those friends had turned to drugs and alcoholism, and don't think that there's anything wrong with it, and just frequently experiment. As far as I know from the past, they were frequently experimenting, and I had to separate myself and move on because I was not going to get involved in those things. I can't. And I didn't like experimenting with substances, alcohol, and things like that because I have disease, and it makes me feel sick, and it's not fun for me, and I never get any real pleasure out of doing any of it, and I never understood why. But I have serious autoimmune disease, and so all of it just makes me feel terrible. So I was crying. I had to call work and tell them that I would be running late. Something entirely different happened. After I saw the video, I was crying. Then I was flooded with memories that I was blocking, which this typically doesn't happen to me, guys. I don't get so overwhelmed with emotion and memories, and I'm not sentimental. But it was my 40th birthday, and I was just overwhelmed with the concept of how much time has gone by and how much time has been wasted, and all the things that I intend to have accomplished by now that I have not accomplished, that I still need to accomplish. And so what I'm trying to get at is a memory that I had blocked unveiled itself to me, and I was pretty shocked and shook and pretty horrified, because it was about an incident that happened to me when I was watching My So-Called Life. And the song Dreams by Cranberries would have been, on the radio. And what it was is I had a friend who was not a close friend that I had spent time with outside of school, slumber parties, and going to the movies and things like that. But we were friends in class, and I had only known this person for about 6 months. And I knew this person that they were dating, who was a very good-looking guy, and she was stunning, a beautiful blonde, and she was very sweet to me and very friendly. And she was somebody that was not, I noticed, that was not judgmental and would really always be there for you. And I wanted to get to know her better, but we had different friends and we were in different cliques. So when we did get around each other, we would gab, and then we just never ended up hanging out. Well, one day something went wrong and she had gone missing. And then a few days later, a search party had discovered that she was discovered to be deceased, that she had been found by the search party in a drain pipe, and she had been murdered. And it was extremely mysterious and shocking to the entire community. And I'm not going to name names because it reveals a little bit too much about my past and where I came from, and then people would know, people would be able to find me. I don't want to find me. Dangerous people. That I've just been trying to keep a lot of my past in the past. So the thing is I'm traumatized by this event. The girl had been picked up by an older Latino man, older than her. She was only 14. And for some reason, she got in the car with this man. It's mysterious why. She ended up back at his mobile home with him and his friend. He's like some Latino gang member at the time, probably in his early 20s. And Then she ends up apparently sexually assaulted and murdered. And the entire community is traumatized and in shock. And I tried to console the boyfriend, and he had completely shut down. I don't think that their relationship was really well known, that they had just sort of started dating. And everyone stopped talking about it because they were so traumatized. But the culprit faced 25 years. And then I was just researching this because I had totally forgotten about it for like 5 to 10 years, that I had been connected to someone pretty closely who had been murdered, and that I had this experience of knowing what could happen to a person who was not paying attention, close enough attention, and that you could fall into a lot of danger by trusting people and things like this. Well, I had, like I said, completely forgotten about that incident. But apparently, I have been in a state of unconscious catharsis because I recently created a track called Eyes Too Injured to See, which is about a girl probably between the ages of 14 and 19, who is a danger to herself, but that does not mean that she should be responsible for her own suffering. In the track is very explicit and graphic, and I go into great detail. I do not lay it out in that way. You kind of have to be paying attention, and you kind of put the pieces together yourself. That's how a lot of my work is I don't just hand it to you. You put the pieces together yourself in your own time. But I did not realize when I made Eyes Too Injured to See that it was basically mirroring this repressed, blocked memory from my past as a young person, where my friend had been murdered. And it hit me on my 40th birthday. What I had done was actually catharted this incident that I had forgotten about into a song that was almost mirroring or just quite similar to the same situation. I shook all day on my birthday. I was emotional for half the day. I got through the day, but I started to realize something that I've had a hard time accepting because I'm atheist, which is that there could be things happening that I cannot prove, which is one, that my friend who has been deceased, it was the late 90s, that friend in spirit could be trying to communicate with me, and I have not been seeing the signs. And I could be, if I'm not careful, misguided by her spirit because she was the type of person to get herself into some danger and not watch for the signs of danger. So I have been feeling and seeing things recently that have been leading me to believe that I might be experiencing something that is extraordinary, kind of paranormal things that I can't explain. And so I'm really shook by that. And, other atheists will say, you are probably just having like a catharsis. I'm like psychologically processing things. I do have health problems that affect my brain. So with my blood sugar getting low, that also impacts my brain. So that could all factor in, but a lot of people believe in supernatural phenomenon, and I cannot say for sure what I think or believe because there's no actual evidence. But if I try to believe that something is going on, seems pretty clear like there might be something going on that I just simply cannot explain. Because I have documented messages that I feel that I've been receiving that are inexplicable, omens and things like that. And when I put them together, they seem to make a statement. And so if the spirit of this person, my friend, is trying to communicate with me, and that I'm touching on the spirit realm, I'm touching on the dark side when I am making art and things like that. I just want to be aware of what I'm getting myself into. And I was pretty spooked at the end of the day on Friday on my birthday, that I was a little worried that I was actually going to see a ghost or something like that, because when I was young, I've never seen a ghost, but there were inexplicable things like very loud noises, and things in another room, things shifting around and no one was in there, or very odd and unusual things, sometimes with animals acting strangely. I've seen some very intelligent animals who seem to be communicating things to me. I always have a gift with animals. Like I said, omens, symbols, symbolic statements, the things people say to me, seem to hint around about things. It's just very odd and unusual. And because I don't have other people experiencing the same thing, I doubt it a lot. But I will tell you that right now, I feel that I am in the presence of a spirit. And it's really bizarre. I just feel like it's there. I feel like she's here sometimes, or there kind of haunting me. I'm a little bit concerned, like I said, though, that I should not trust this spirit because it doesn't make sense, the decision she made that day, and that she was confused, that she was a person who might have been a danger to herself. So I kind of feel like maybe I shouldn't give in to some of this guidance that I could be, if I am not careful, that I could, these omens and things, that I follow these omens, that I could follow these omens into a dangerous situation. And like, for instance, this is very bizarre. I was riding home last night, and I've told a couple people this. On the sidewalk in front of Lowe's, that there is like some trees, and through the trees you can see the Lowe's, which is, if you don't know, it's like a Home Depot. There is like outdoor lawn supplies that you can buy, like maybe they would have bags of fertilizer or wood chips, and things like that outside. So piles and piles of this stuff. And then there's grass and trees, and it kind of goes downhill. And then there's the parking lot is quite a bit of ways. So there's just like a lot of these grassy areas that are actually kind of spooky and scary because you don't know if there might be somebody in there. So the thing is there's some street lights. And at the time I'm going home, typically I just ride straight through and don't stop because like I said, you never know who's around the corner. And I'm on a scooter. But the thing was, on the sidewalk, there was a kitten sitting there on the sidewalk, a kitten. And it was a kitten that was not just barely born. It had its eyes open. It was a few months old for sure. It didn't look emaciated or sick from what I could see. And it was just sitting there, and it watched me as I rolled up, and I called for it, and it started to scurry off into the trees and the grass and things. And so I got off my scooter and left the lights on there, and I started to kind of go after it, calling it, because I was concerned about it. I was going to see if I could get somebody to come out and take it, because I can't take it. So I would call maybe animal control or something like that, or I don't know, the police, or see if somebody could take it, because there are animal advocates in the area that in an emergency situation will pick up an animal that is in desperate need. But it's almost like it was trying to take me somewhere, as if, because this happens with animals sometimes, and they feel like they can trust you, and so it starts to scurry away, and then it looks back at you, and you follow it, and then it leads you to other animals that it is with, like its mother cat and the other kittens, or if it's like a deer, like it'll lead you to its mother, okay, and that they're in need of food. So their instincts draw them out to people, and then they run as if to run away, but they end up leading you to their clan. But I was not going to follow this kitten into the dark. So I left it because it wouldn't come to me. So I left it, and then I did report it and things like that. But I felt like that was an omen. It was very spooky. I'm not done processing all of this. And that's what I'm saying, is there's these situations that come up. If you're not paying attention to them, it just doesn't seem like it even matters. But I've been taking note of these things. Seeing a kitten on the sidewalk at 10:45 p.m. that I probably wouldn't even normally notice because I would just be speeding by is really bizarre, because it caught my eye. It caught my attention, and the way it was just sitting there looking at me as I was riding up is just really bizarre. So what I'm trying to tell you is I'm looking at things differently right now, and I'm processing things, and I'm going to be creating some art to help me to continue to process this. And I just haven't even gotten started on it, and I am not in the same place as I was. And, I have become stronger since the day of my birthday. But still, I'm shook. I'm like offended by my birthday. It was the worst, probably one of the worst days of my life. In the way I felt was bad. And then I'm just generally offended by everything that has to do with becoming 40. And I probably needed some probably some older women to tell me 40 is nothing, that age is just a number, that I have all the time in the world, that I will accomplish even more, and all of these things. I just needed the support, but I didn't have the support. And again, I'm just offended by all of the things that I was experiencing on my 40th birthday. Just really offended by being the age 40 now, offended by the time that has been wasted in my life, people wasting my time, and expecting me to be so incredibly patient. It's the expectation that I would be so incredibly patient, that I have to be so patient with people wasting my time and standing in my way when I have incredible and important goals that I have been putting into place and acting upon, and so determined to act upon for so many years. And so that's what I want to tell you, is that I have been changed and transformed, and that's what's been going on.